in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is David Gross with Condé Systems, and with me, my co-host is Jimmy Lamb from Sawgrass, and we want to welcome everybody to our webinar on fundraising with digital decorating. Hope this webinar will provide you some great information to allow you to go out and find new clients and grow your business. And welcome, Jimmy. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me out. I always look forward to these sessions, especially to be able to co-host with you, because every time I do anything with you, I learn a little bit more. And I know you got a lot of background here with fundraising, so I think everybody's in for a really good educational session here today.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay, so we might as well go ahead and get started and start talking about that wonderful world of fundraising, because for those of you who don't know it, and I'm sure you probably do, there's thousands of organizations out there who are looking for fundraising programs to be able to sustain their existence. And, you know, I can tell you firsthand, because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've done programs for companies, or excuse me, organizations who need to do fundraising. So I've actually provided a fundraising program before, and then I've been on the other side where I stuttering here today, but where I was a part of an organization that was looking for fundraising. So I've got that really unique viewpoint, and I know David has done a tremendous amount of work with the fundraising opportunities out there. So a lot of good things going on.
Back in 2008, I surveyed a lot of our clients and found out that they too also saw the opportunity with fundraising, and wrote an article which I'll tell the folks how to get a copy of to help them explore this new market. What I tell people, Jimmy, when we're going to any of these webinars and ideas to grow your business, and if I sound a little congested, I am. Got a little bit of a cold, so apologize. What I tell them to focus on two things. One is, how do you grow your existing, grow the profits with your existing clients? How do you grow the profits with your existing clients? And that is, sell them more, sell them new products, show them new things. And today, what we're going to talk about is the second version of that, and that is, how do I find new profitable clients? How do I find new profitable clients? And I can tell you that there's a lot of money out there available to you if you can come up with a great strategy program for fundraising. And believe it or not, that's what we're going to be doing today, is showing you elements of what we think is a good strategy for pushing sublimation into the fundraising market. And also, fundraising is sort of a limiting title here, because there's so many, I would say, related kinds of opportunities that are pseudo-fundraising.
Right.
So don't put blinders on. Back to you, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, definitely, you always want to keep open mind because what we're trying to do is kind of place some of these seeds where you can think about it and say, hey, wow, you know what, I could apply this over here, or I can apply it over there. And just as an example, there's a lot of different groups. I mean, the ones that come to mind for me initially are clubs and schools and nonprofits and some of the special events. But, churches, another one that I don't have on the list. They're doing their own types of fundraisings as well.
Absolutely. I was thinking this morning about the presentation, and you've got all the wavy tile murals, and if everybody hasn't seen those, they're just awesome products. You can set up a wall at your church or organization with the fundraising donors on it, and so it's a perpetual kind of sublimation project that just keeps growing and getting bigger.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat application for that wavy tile, because that's a wonderful piece of signage, and it's like 101 different ways to use a wavy tile, and that's one more to add to the list. So the concept of offering sublimated products for fundraising definitely has so much potential, but as you're going to see when we go through this, it's not just about being able to do the sublimation. I think your success is going to depend a whole lot of how you present what it is that you can do into that particular marketplace, how you can really tailor it to them to get their attention, and also to offer them a program. It's not just enough to say, hey, I'm Jimmy, I can do some sublimation you can use as a fundraiser. You really got to go a little bit deeper to make that work.
Yeah, I think what folks ought to think about is that they can call it fundraising, but what I think it is really, Jimmy, is it's you're basically hiring a sales force from that organization,
Right.
and you're doing wholesale fulfillment. So it's going to be real important that you take an active participation in helping them sell the product,
Right.
educate them about it, because that's going to lead to success.
Right. And typically, if you're going out there in the marketplace to get started, you're going to find that a lot of these groups are already using some type of fundraising program. So you have to remember that if you're going to go out and compete against those existing programs, you need to take a good look at what they're doing and figure out what they're doing well, and maybe some of the things they're not doing so well. Because as I've always found, when I go in to compete against somebody, I never really look so much at price. I know a lot of people say, well, if I do it cheaper, I'll get the business. I try to look at how is the other guy, how are they not doing it well? What are they missing? What are the holes in their program? And same thing with fundraising. If you go out there and look at some of these, and there's so many different ones out there, but I see some of them have very low profit levels. It's very surprising to me that some of these fundraising groups are really making all the money, not the organization using the program, but I'm meaning the company that's providing the program. They're making all the money. The organization's making very little money. And, a lot of times we see very overpriced products that don't have a lot of appeal. I mean, people are trying to sell me stuff. I mean, I'm not kidding you when I say this. I had some kids come to the door the other day, and they wanted me to buy something for the Little League. I think it was magazine subscriptions. You know what I told them? I said, listen, I'm not interested in any magazine subscriptions, but look, here's $20, okay, that I'll donate to you guys. Just don't make me get a magazine, because I had no interest in it, and that's a downfall for a lot of these guys because of what they're doing. And then, of course, you see the Little League guys show up selling magazine subscriptions, and then the Girl Scouts, well, they sell cookies. Okay, then some arts group shows up trying to sell you the same magazines, and suddenly you got 5 groups, one behind the other, all trying to sell the same thing. So they're all kind of hurting each other, stepping on each other's toes. So you have a lot of these things going on. With the final one that really comes to mind is you'll do a fundraising program, but it has to be done within a turnkey period of time, like 30 days. Okay, and then it's done, as opposed to something that perpetually maybe goes on year-round or for a longer period of time. So those are just some of the things that are negative out there that you can capitalize on.
You're right, Jimmy. The programs that are out there now are just old, worn out, and I think often the profit for the organization is it's actually difficult to figure out, because I think some of the organizations do make it difficult to figure out, how much money is being made on each product, where's the money going, what are the other costs associated with the programs, and ultimately the organization isn't benefiting near as much as they think.
Right. And ultimately, if your customer, who's the organization who's taking on your fundraising program, if they do well, they're going to come back and want to do more. So when you start looking at these things, you look for those negatives, and keep in mind some of the other things that you have to be fully conscious of, because these aren't necessarily negative aspects of someone else's program, but these are some other challenges. Because with some of the really good programs, you may be up against a brand recognition type of thing where they're successful because they're selling something that everyone recognizes. And some of these programs, as David said, they've been around a long time, but it also means they have a pretty good track record. So they're really good at being able to go in and convince people to take on their program, because they have a dedicated sales staff that goes around and does it. They'll have turnkey marketing and sales systems, and basically what they do is they show up at that organization and say, listen, we got this nice, pretty package that you invest your time and effort with this package, and you'll make some money for your organization. So again, if you're just walking in with a business card and nobody knows who you are, and you don't really have a program, and you're going up against some of these established ones, even though they may be a little bit worn out, on the surface, they might look a little bit more exciting than you. Now, David, I know that you were talking yesterday about your product partner catalog, which is something that's very useful for generating some excitement about what any of your customers out there could do, any sublimator could do.
Yeah, when you're trying to open those doors, one of the challenges you're going to face is momentum. And you've got to get in there early to understand their calendars, when they do their fundraising, when they make their decisions, because that's what you're going to be doing is changing the momentum. Even though they have an old, worn-out program, the person who's taking over the chair of the program in the PTO or wherever, they're sort of, doing the same thing that the person did before them. So you've got to get in there early, find out what their calendars are, and then change the momentum. And one of the ways that you can at least open that door is we have a printed and also an electronic version of what we call our partner catalog. It's stripped of the Condé information, and you can show it to them. They can thumb through and see all the exciting products that might fit into their fundraiser, from a stadium cushion to a picture frame to bag tags. There's just so many products that make excellent fundraising additions.
Yeah, as I like to say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and once people start seeing these things, they really start to realize what it is that you're talking. Because I know sometimes we make the mistake of saying, we can just sublimate some really great products, and people are like, what the heck does sublimation mean? So just being able to show them the product, I think, speaks for itself. So setting up your own program. We'll cover a couple of different points here, what we think is important for you to establish your own program so you can compete out there against some of the existing ones. And I think the first thing is your program must have a professional look. Just like what David is talking about with his catalog, you're going to be going up against established companies that have nice brochures and websites, experienced sales reps. I mean, most of them have a very professional look and feel to them. And if you're going to come in and show people how they can make money through your program, you need to have some type of professional look as well. I mean, that you just got to come across. They're going to judge you by how they see you and the items you have in your hand, your presentation to them, whatnot. They're going to make all their judgments based on that. So you want to make sure you have that really sharp professional look right from the get-go. And a big part of that is being unique, creative, and different. As I like to, when I talk to an organization about fundraising, one of the first things I say to these people is, listen, are you guys tired of the same old when it comes to fundraising? Has it gotten so bad that when the kids go out in the neighborhoods to sell, that the neighbors turn off the lights and close the blinds because they're tired of useless, boring products that really have no interest in? And as soon as you say something like that, you see people nodding their heads because they realize that the kids are selling candles and magazine subscriptions. They're selling a lot of fattening stuff out there, pizza dough and cookie dough and these things. And they're doing it over and over and over again to where it's just that worn out thing, as David was talking about. You need to be unique, creative, and different, right off the bat. That's going to be a big part of what you need to do. Now, sublimation definitely offers endless possibilities. And as David was just mentioning with that partner catalog, being able to show people, you don't want to spend 30 minutes trying to explain to them what sublimation is, okay? You want to immediately talk to them about what the final product is. Being able to have that catalog, because when you pull out a nice, well put together catalog, and Condé does a wonderful job with all of their marketing tools, when you pull something like that out and people go through it, all of a sudden their mind is clicking and they're thinking and they're going, oh yeah, you know what? Oh yeah, I can make some money with that. And I see the interest, and you see some excitement building right there. And that's the nice thing about sublimation is we have so many different things. With embroidery, all you can do is apparel. With screen printing, pretty much all you can do is T-shirts. But with sublimation, you can do pretty much a little bit of everything, so you can kind of custom tailor that program to fit all those different markets out there.
That's absolutely correct. And one of the things to keep in mind is that you can reiterate to whoever you're talking to, the prospect, the school, the organization, that where their fundraiser that they have done in the past, that money is going definitely out of town, where the money that will be spent here is going to be kept in the local community. It's going back into the community. And I think a lot of people, like products, and I think they'll respect you if you tell them, I make these products.
Right.
This is all made here. It can be done very quickly, so the turnaround time is quick. If there's an error or mistake, it's easy to correct. And so I think you have just a lot of advantages over some of these really fixed fundraising systems. You can offer flexibility, and it can be something that changes every time you do a campaign. So you really have a great opportunity.
That's an excellent point, because every fundraiser that I've ever been involved with, that I wasn't personally running the fundraiser, but when I was part of an organization that was doing it, sure enough, all those products shipped in from somewhere else. And we would be lucky to get 40% of the total revenue, and the company was getting 60% or more, and they were taking all that money somewhere else. And it wasn't providing local jobs, or going to even the small companies who put that money back into the community. So that's definitely an excellent selling point right there, is we're local, and we can provide you the service. So,
and what I tell people also is that you're introducing yourself, and you're essentially hiring a sales force, and that sales force can introduce your brand and the other products you sell. And so the fundraiser is your way of just doing a great job of attracting new clients to do other profitable products like name badges for schools and that. So fundraising, I think, should be an essential part of everybody's mission, that they should seek this out.
Right. Now, one of the great things about Sublimation is the ease of personalization, which means it gives us even more opportunities, different levels of, I guess, sophistication of what we can offer, because we can do just stock items, or we can actually do custom products using personalization. And David was sharing with you yesterday that he breaks customization down for fundraising basically into about 3 different categories. At the bottom end, he has his stock designs, and then he has a stock design with personalization, and he has photography with personalization. I'll let David tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think basically it comes into a strategy of selling inside the organization or outside. If you, for instance, came up with a license plate for a particular event or something like that you could sell to the organization, it's a fixed design for an event, and probably the only people that would be interested in that design, that product, would be somebody associated with the organization. In other words, you couldn't sell it to a stranger down the street. The next category is taking a stock design, could be a stadium cushion, and you're going to customize it with the person's name on it. Again, you're selling within the organization most likely. And so, you have a limited audience, but you have a very motivated audience because they're the kind of people that are probably going to grab their wallets and take out their money before a total stranger. The third category is, think of an example like a photo Christmas ornament, and very hot, very popular product, and so you sell basically that product to total strangers, and you can, of course, sell it within the organization. So you're putting a photograph, could be on a pillowcase, could be on a Christmas ornament. Lots of products lend themselves to that. So, the easiest design to start off with is probably number 2. That's provides some value because you're personalizing it. So that's probably your first thing. Now, I recommend that you find your first client and use this as your reference account. So it's very important that you do something simple so you can get experience, like category number 2. And then from there, they become a reference. They're going to branch out. They're going to tell other folks in other organizations what a great job it is. And then, what you want to do with your next one is pick out some different products so that truly you're showing some uniqueness as you move from client to client.
One of the things that comes to me as soon as I'm looking at your categories here, David, is I'm looking from category 1 to category 3. I'm looking at an increase in margin, because as soon you'll pay a certain amount to have a really good looking item with a stock design, but as soon as I can personalize it with my name or my message, the value to me has increased. Therefore, as a provider of that product, you can seek a higher margin because the perception of the customer is it's got a higher value. And then when I go to category 3, where I've taken a photograph rather than a stock design, because remember, a stock design limits me to a choice of someone else's selection of items, whereas if it's a photograph that I provide, I made the choice of what the actual design image is, and then I add personalization. Again, that becomes a higher value item to that end user. Therefore, we can seek a little higher margin there. And really, on our part, it might be a little bit more work when we're doing more personalized items because we're having to set up the extra personalization. But by the same token, we're generating a higher margin. So that's another thing I would take with you when you're looking at how you want to set this up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm all into sample kits. Now, David's got that wonderful catalog. And I think the catalog is just a great tool because it's impossible for you to take every item. Well, maybe it's not impossible. It's impractical for you probably to take every potential item that could be offered, and a catalog is a great way to show that. But, when I go in, because most of my fundraising programs have targeted school booster organizations, athletic boosters, band boosters, PTA, whatnot. And, for me, it's about trying to build a limited sample kit, not with everything in the world, but some basic items that would appeal to that group. And then I want to make those things look as awesome as I can so that when they look at it, it's sort of some oohing and eyeing there, if you know what I mean. And one of the things that, because we were doing so many schools going after them back to back, we realized that for us it wasn't practical to make a kit for every single school. So rather than going to East Side High and showing them products from West Side High, which could be bad, we ended up just creating a fictitious organization, fictitious school. We chose our mascots, our colors, our logos, our slogans, all these things, and built a kit that I could show to any school and not feel like I would offend them. And then, of course, I supplement the kit with, a catalog to show a wider range of items. I just want to give them some look and touch and feel kind of thing, And if I'm going to a non-school, maybe I'm going to a club or a church, I'm probably not taking the school kit. So, I do have enough components that I can tailor a kit to different organizations because I think people being able to handle things really makes a difference.
Yeah, Jimmy, I would agree. It really comes down to what your opportunity is. If you're familiar with the organization, you know the decision makers, and you're able to really have a good rapport, maybe you do make some custom samples for them so they can show. Obviously, everybody loves their name. So right. Putting a school name, putting your name, putting their name on a sample, that's a really good way to get some time in that organization and get people excited. But if you're doing a shotgun approach, then obviously it's hard to do samples for everybody. But nothing goes further than doing something that has that school name on it, and maybe personalizing it with the fundraising person.
Yep, and that's an excellent point because a lot of times you can just take a couple of basic items for that school with everything else being more of a generic theme so that they actually give it to them as a gift. It's not just a sample. It's like, here, this is yours to keep, which is a good way to open up any kind of sales presentation. Just giving them a nice free gift so they can see the quality of your work and just kind of saying thank you for taking the time to sit down and speak with me. Now, I know another important part of this, as I've been saying, is you're really going to have that professional look, and you're up against people who do have promotional materials and flyers and those kind of things. So I think that's an important part of being able to provide for the program. And I know that what we have up there on the screen are some flyers that you actually, I believe you, or at least Condé, created these particular flyers. You want to tell us a little bit about what you have to offer in the way of this type of thing?
Well, it shows Category 1 and Category 3. First, the Category 1, this was an event, I think we did it 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago. Came up with 3 products that were for a school that I was on the board of directors. I suggested these products. It was a car flag, a bookmark, and a license plate the organization was going to travel to the event, which was a couple hours away, and I can tell you that pretty much everybody that was involved with the organization bought a car flag and a license plate. And they wanted to have that proud license plate on their car as we drove off together. And so it really helped bridge the gap funding-wise because it was an overnight stay, and the organization had to come up with the money to help with the hotels.
Right.
So it was a simple program. We used the same artwork that for all three items. The little frog in the middle there, that was actually done by the kids. So they actually participated in the artwork, and then we threw a little Mars scene behind there because that was the theme of the robotics competition. The one on the left is Category 3, and we're relying on a photograph or digital image from the ultimate client and putting it on, in this case, a bag tag or a Christmas ornament. Simple program, and it could be obviously done later in the year as Christmas heads around. So just an easy program. None of the flyers are especially difficult. They have the name of the organization, they have the prices, and usually a little verbiage. But they're simple flyers that if you can do a little bit of graphics with Sublimation, you can come up with a flyer easily.
That's true. I mean, I've made plenty of flyers, just using my desktop publishing stuff, and made very nice flyers. A big part of it's getting them printed on good quality paper, because that really makes it as much as anything else. But if they're going to go out and make sales of these products, these are important kinds of promotional materials that they should have in their hand to help them do the sales the right way. Now, you got to do pricing. Pricing's always there, but one of the things that you have to think about immediately up front is, if you're building a program, your clients have to basically mark up what it is that you're producing, okay? And that doesn't, that's the thing you got to remember. What's going to be the end price, okay? And what's your wholesale price? Because, of course, the difference between that is the margin they make. These fundraising groups, they're not looking for 10% margin, okay? I mean, the more you can offer them, the better. And, as having previously been a booster president, I'm looking for something making me at least 50% of what that retail selling price is, okay? These guys that come to me and say, I'm going to make 20%, I'm like, sorry, we're going to find another program. So you got to think this through, because you need to be able to make the money you need to be able to make, but they have to be able to make the money they have to be able to make. And you've got to figure out how you can put together the right products that have the right perceived value so that both parties make the kind of money they need to make. And this sometimes is different from what you're used to, because most of you have probably been selling to the end user, where they didn't have to take your price and go mark it back up themselves to make a profit. So you got to sit down and sharpen your pencil and do a little bit of work here.
I think it really starts with product selection, and some products have what I'll call a large amount of value that translates to margin, and other products probably don't. So you do have to be a little bit cautious with your thing. I'll tell you this: yes, the organizations would love 50 to 60% profit. I'll tell you that there are a lot of organizations out there that they're only making 30%. And so if you can come in with a program that exceeds that, you're going to get their attention. And you think about it, if they're dealing with a local company, they're not going to be stuck with inventory, because sometimes they have to order in big cases, and there's never enough. You have to round up. So this is a great program that really involves very little risk for them as far as overages, things like that. They've got local support, which is not what they're going to have with these other folks. Somebody to call, somebody to tune, change, expand as things go along. So coupled with the products, that local support, you're really in a good position to grow and prosper.
Yep. And you know what? I throw that 50 to 60 as a target. You may not be able to actually achieve that, but just like David's saying, I mean, I've seen groups where they're offering you 20% and people are excited to get 30%. And this is some of those weak points for those big professional programs. Find out what the average margin is that they're offering in your community to these groups you're going to go after. And if it's 30% and you can squeeze out 35 to 40% even, then you know what? You're doing them another favor, along with all the other things that David pointed out about being local. But this is something you definitely need to be aware of in there. That's a two-way street. If they're comfortable with what they're making and you're comfortable with what you're making, it's going to work well. But if either party is not doing well, ultimately the program is not going to be a success. Now, as well, I mean, and this sounds so basic, but sometimes I think we kind of forget about this. But definitely, you want clear, concise price sheets to go with the program. I mean, you have pricing set up, and really what most of the programs I've dealt with, what they'll do is they'll say, this is the retail selling price, and they want to make the flyers for you. It says whatever it is they're selling is X dollars. And out of that retail selling price, you're going to get this %. And that's how a lot of them do work. Now, I've actually bumped into a couple of programs or more smaller custom type programs where they were saying, listen, this is our cost or your cost from us, and you mark it up to anything you want and tell us what that is, and then we'll print the flyers for that amount of money, where they actually let the organization set their margin. Now, the danger in that is the organization is seeing money signs but not thinking practically. But one way or another, you do want some very clean, clear, concise price sheets. You want to avoid as much as many gray areas as possible. I mean, sometimes we get really crazy with pricing. You want it to be as simple as you possibly can. And a lot of times when I go in to actually talk to an organization, I'll create a sample price sheet where I've actually added their logos into the header, and I customize it to look like them, okay? And all I got to do is make one because it's just part of the sales presentation, and then I take it and actually hand it to them as well with the samples and the catalog, and it really gets their attention because I'm showing them what the suggested retail prices are for the sample items I've given them, and that's just as much as anything part of my sales program.
Yes, sir.
Now, order sheets. Again, remember we were talking about category 1, 2, and 3, and you're ordering. You want to make sure that people don't mess up the details, because you and I, we understand what we need to get the job done. But now we're dealing with the public, and they don't always understand what we need to do to get the job done. And I'll see order sheets all the time from things from the kids' school and something, and they're hard to understand. You're not really sure exactly what you're getting when it's all said and done. So this is an area where you want to make sure that you're communicating to the customer what information you need from them, and then make sure they understand what they're getting in return. And it can take some time to get these set together, especially if you're doing a lot of personalization, because you have to make it clear. And by making it clear, when you personalize something, you want them to be able to get it the way they want it, but you got to be really careful that if you give people too much choice, they can't make a decision. That's one of the things I've found. So it's important that we set up an order sheet which has simple instructions of what they need to do, and very simple fill in the blank or choose multiple or whatever. We want a simple order sheet that convey what we need to get across, because the last thing you want to do is go out there and create a whole grouping of products for people and go to deliver them and find out that they're wrong because the client didn't understand what they were getting when they filled out the form.
And it's pretty simple if the form is clear. What product are you ordering, and what personalization will go on this product?
Right.
And then collect the money, indicate that you've collected the money, and then communicate when the client can expect a delivery of the merchandise, and go forward. If it's if you're selling a category number 3, usually you'll provide some sort of instruction card to the client of where to send their file, along with a code on the form that is related to their purchase.
Right. In fact, here's some images on the screen that go back to one of those projects you'd worked on there, Debbie, where they had the envelope here. I see where they do the ordering, and I think they put everything in their envelope and then send that in.
The envelope can also be the collection envelope for all the money,
Right.
that kind of stuff. In today's world, a good portion of the folks would probably have digital images, and so most of the Category 3 campaigns out there, the client is responsible for emailing the image so that the order can be processed.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because you could actually just go ahead and create an electronic form that tells them exactly what they got to do to get the image in. They're filling out, fill in the blank on the electronic form, and then all you got to do is collect the money.
Yeah, it can be as simple as, here's the email address to send to, and put this code so we know, who is sending it.
Right.
And the order is processed, the product is then brought back to the school, and then the school is responsible for delivery.
Okay. Now, it's also important that you get paid, and again, there's lots of different ways these programs work. For example, one of the programs I was involved with as a president of a band booster organization was selling spiritware or spirit products, because we sold a wide range of spirit items. And basically what we did was, someone way before me actually put this together, but they went out and decided on the products that the boosters wanted to sell, and they have a local vendor that has been filling those orders, for many years. And in this case, every year at the beginning of the football season, the new booster board goes and orders that first stock, and then they mark them to whatever they want to resell them. Okay, so that's a very simple fundraising program, because everything's being sold at the football games and the school cafeteria, and it really is not a whole lot of forms. I mean, in this case, there's no personalization. It's just, boom, everything's kind of turnkey already. And I do remember one of the first things is, they were like, okay, you got to pay for your stuff up front. There's no consignments, and that's what I'm getting at is most of these organizations really don't have a whole lot of money, and it's important that you typically get the money up front somehow, because people have a tendency, they order it today, and then when it's delivered in a couple of weeks, they change their mind, and now you're stuck with many times something that's been personalized, and you certainly can't resell it. So it's important that everybody understands the payment system, and you may have to tweak it depending on the type of organization you're working with and who that end user is. One of the things that with some groups, it just depends on who we're dealing with and how the program is set up. There was one particular school group we were working with where we actually had everyone wrote their checks to the school group, okay, and then we filled the orders, and the school paid us in one check, the cost of the orders. They were paid full retail price by the customer, and they collected all the checks and did it that way. I've seen other ways where they're just writing a check to the end organization. So you gotta think this one through. A lot of times we don't think about this one until too late, and then we're having trouble getting paid.
Yeah, I would recommend that the money collected is payable to the organization, and that when the order is placed with you, the digital decorator, that you're paid at that moment for whatever the amount of the order is they're placing, so that you keep it very simple. Everybody understands that that's how it's going to work, and I think that people will certainly relate to that, so it shouldn't be too much of a challenge to communicate that.
Right, because you as the provider of the products, you don't know the end user, but in most cases the organization does, and it's that much easier for them to deal with them if there's any issues, such as a bad check. Okay, so what I want to do here is just take a look at a couple of different directions you can go, or should I say organizations that are interested in fundraising and some of the products that you might offer to them. The first one comes to mind is Spirit, because that's where I've done most of my work, is with Spirit programs, where we have schools and school organizations, creating products that they can go out and, sell to make money. And so, putting together, here's just a quick example of some, basic products. Here's a whole nice little collection, that's created for this school, which is in this case the Warriors. And you notice that there's a whole collection of examples of products. And that's what I mean about creating that nice kit, because you're able to go in and show people kind of how things interrelate, this is actually how you can package them together the right way. But here's some things that David was sharing with me, because there's so many different directions that we can go in the Spirit program. I mean, Spirit is a huge marketplace.
Yeah, I would recommend as much as possible that any products you do in the realm of Spirit, you always try to time to a date or event or a year, so that there's room for the product next year, room for something a little bit, maybe not real different, but a different event, a different championship team, whatever it is. On the left was the shirt that we helped the school do with our full bleed sublimation technology, and that's what the team actually wore. And then the parents and the other mentors also got a shirt. Very successful fundraiser for the school, because we early on got quite a few people involved. And on the back of the shirt, which you cannot see, there were actually sponsors. So the school recruited, in this case the organization recruited different sponsors to help supplement where the funds were needed. So yeah, I think you have all sorts of opportunities with schools. You just have to work yourself in there and look at their needs and see how best you can help them.
Yeah, one of the things I've found about the schools is, in most cases, the money is not really in the school. The money is in the support organizations, the ones that the parents are involved in, because typically the parents theoretically have money. I'm a parent and I have no money, okay? But, theoretically the parents are able to buy and show interest in buying things, whereas, the school itself doesn't necessarily. So finding those key groups and the key people in those groups is really important for being able to introduce these types of programs. Here's a variety of other types of popular items that you might offer into a Spirit program.
The pennants have been a very successful product for our Condé clients, because they look good, they're inexpensive, so that would be an example of a product that would be high value. And the list goes on and on as far as that. And again, you're probably going to overwhelm the organization at first, and you'll need to direct them a little bit to a product that seems to fit. For instance, the stadium cushion. Obviously, if people are going to an event or something like that, it's an awesome product for that. I have a lot of folks that love the Unisub the Unisub hardboard switch plate for rooms. Putting the kids' name on it or something like that. That's to me a inexpensive and great fundraising kind of product. So, you as the digital decorator, you certainly don't have a limited number of choices of what products you can pitch, and I think that's why this is such a great market.
And you made a good point about not overwhelming them with too much. I know that the company that services the band organization that my kids have been in, they have their set items, but they're always coming up and lending a helpful hand, okay, and showing us new items that are hot, and big sellers. And, of course they want to make more money, but the reality is they're trying to direct us into things they think that we can make money with. And so after you get into that initial set of items, every time you see them, they may show you one or two new things they've come across. So, and the same thing that you can do is you don't want to just set up a program and kind of walk away. You want to always keep your hands kind of in that program so you can kind of help guide them into new ideas and expand, what they're doing, and, it generates more money for you in the long run.
Right. Another point to make, Jimmy, is that on every product that you offer, figure out a way to put your personalized information on the product. Like the pennant, you can put it on the back, on the stem. And so because somebody's going to pick up that product and say, wow, that's a great looking product. Right. Where did you get it from? And so fundraisers, as I mentioned earlier, really provide a great way for you to open new doors to clients that you would never meet.
That's true. Another one that I've seen, and I've seen it building a lot in my area, is what I call action sports photography. And in fact, That's a pretty big marketplace. I actually went to a trade show that was for action sports photographers, and so it's a pretty big organization. But what I saw was that, you know, when my son, who's in college now, but when his first year in high school, and he was in the band, we go to the football games, you know, because the band was there, is I'd see this guy out in the field, and he was running around trying not to get hit by the football players with a camera. I'm like, what's that idiot doing out there? I figured he worked for the newspaper. No, they said he's a sports photographer, and he's taking action photos that the athletic boosters then offer those for sale to the parents, and it's actually a fundraiser for the athletic boosters. So, you know, you get to looking at a program like that, they're just selling prints on paper. You know, if you're able to team up with somebody, because there's a lot of photographers who don't want to do sublimation, and there's sublimators who can't take good pictures. But if the two of you get together, between the two of you probably could come up with a really nice action sports photography type of program that you can offer to groups too. And this goes beyond the schools, because you start talking about Pop Warner and Little League and, you know, all these different organizations out there that have sporting events where the pictures are being taken and then they're offered. And, you know, I've always liked these types of plaques here, where you take a great picture and you make it even better through adding in some of that customization that we've been talking about onto a very unique substrate. So, you know, here's another direction you can go with the fundraising concept.
Absolutely, Jimmy.
And you can see there's lots of items out there with sublimation. You'll never run out of, you know, things. And, you know, all these right here, you can see they're geared to kind of like the team sports. But let me tell you, I've done a lot of stuff with hunting and fishing, and I've been involved with a lot of king mackerel fishing tournaments. Now, for those of you who don't live on the southeast on the coast, you probably don't know what a king mackerel is and probably don't care. But they are some very big fishing tournaments. And, again, these guys are coming in with 52-pound fish, and they're getting pictures taken, and they'll pay money to have those pictures put onto T-shirts and all kinds of other things, because these aren't just big fish, they're money fish. And it's the same thing with bass fishing tournaments. It's the same thing with hunters who've killed that 20-point buck. Okay. 6-point buck, 8-point, whatever. But they've killed that big, you know, deer. They're proud of it. And, you know, you can go into hunting and fishing clubs and offer the same kind of concept there with a little bit of different twist. You know, it's just all about thinking about what you can do with it and then following up.
Yeah, I recommend that in the case of sports photography, things like that, that you do two things. Number one is every organization that my kids have been part of, they always had, at the beginning of the season, a silent auction. And I recommend that you do a giveaway to the silent auction with one of these kind of products, showing people what they can do with their photograph. And that's just a magnet to you. Just an amazing magnet. Everybody's going to walk by, look at that product, and go, wow, I'd love my kid to have that. And you've got your marketing information right there of how they can get in touch with you. The number two thing is you want to find out when picture day is, and you want to get there a little early, and you want to introduce yourself to the photographer, and you want to ask for permission to use their photographs. Now, if you do this up front as opposed to, you know, afterwards, you're going to get some respect, because the photographer is going to realize that you understand that you're not supposed to use the photographs, and they're going to be very intrigued by what you're doing. They really want to understand it. And so you're doing two things. One is you're getting permission to use the photographs, and they usually will do that. And number two is you've got a potential new client for wholesale fulfillment through that photographer. And in the case of our clients, I've heard many examples where after a few days, the photographer wanted to actually display products in their office, their store, showing people what they could do. Now, interestingly enough, most of these photographers were not really interested in selling them, because, you know, sometimes they don't understand some of these uses. And so what they were doing ultimately was referring business for, say, a Chromolux panel, some of these other products, directly to you, the digital decorator. So as many people as you can come up in contact with and network with at these large organizations, that's how you're going to get your name known and you're going to be able to plant those seeds that they'll come back to you.
Great points. Okay, final thing I wanted to introduce you to was the kids' artwork type of fundraising program. Now, what we have is the kids are creating the artwork, and then it's being applied to something, like the coffee mug or the mouse pad or even a T-shirt, such that those can then be sold with that artwork captured on there. And those have turned out to be very good fundraisers, especially in the elementary schools and that type of age bracket.
Well, you're right about that, Jimmy. And there's now a lot of what I would call kid-friendly kind of products. For instance, the Polysub mug is plastic. The kids can't break that, and so there are some large companies out there this is their only business. They're in this business, and they do a good job. But I think there's absolutely a place for you with your local presence to go into daycares, for instance, and you give a little cut to the daycare, and they sell it to their kids for end of the year gifts or you name it. So whether it be a school, daycare, a church that runs a daycare, you can just come up with all sorts of neato designs. Often the best designs are to use what I would call the category 2 is you're using the child's stock design, but you're personalizing it. Well, maybe I got it backwards, but you're using the child's design, but you're putting it in a pre-made template for the organization, because often they'll want to associate the sublimated product with, say a church daycare or something like that. Show mommy and daddy what the child's been doing and their artistic talent or whatever. So the kids market just as awesome, and grandma, grandfather, they want those gifts too. So really a great market, and I can tell you it has been very successful.
Yep. Okay, so to wrap all this up, some of your keys to success here. Fundraising, it's a unique approach to bring people in, and regardless of the market, okay, the keys are pretty much the same. Unique products, profitable margins for everybody involved, a turnkey sales system that's easy and makes sense, and then an initiative to make it happen. I mean, don't dream it, go do it, and I've seen so many good ideas never make it past the kitchen table, and you got to work hard to make it go past that kitchen table, level. And this is just like anything else. When you first look at it, hey, this is great. Now you got to go take the steps to make it happen, and that will lead to your success.
It is true, and it's real important that you get into these organizations, get their fundraising calendars, find out when their activities occur, so that you can do some early planning with the organization to change their current momentum, whatever they're doing. So that you have plenty of time for them to make a really good decision, pass stuff around, talk about it. So it's not brain surgery, and it's easy to do. And if you think about the contacts that you already have, you probably know a lot of folks at some of these organizations, churches, schools, that you can instantly start calling them, and you can. The first one, what I would do with the very first one is plead ignorance. It says, I know how to make the products, and they're great products. Could you help me with how I can help your organization with having a great, exciting product, having something that is going to be a cherished keepsake forever, and just say, take me by the hand and help me. And often you'll find somebody that's willing to do that to get that first sale under your belt. And then from there, you'll obviously have renewed confidence in yourself. You'll have a success story behind you, and it will allow you to go to the next one and the next one. And here at Condé, we're certainly in a position to help you, and your sales rep at Condé can come up with ideas and resources that we have, like our partner catalog, and that is now available in a print version that allows you to customize the back of it with your information. So we've got articles. I'm going to put up my article if you want to write this down, Condé.com/webinar. Condé.com/webinar. Tomorrow I'll put up my fundraising article there. It's now, if you're familiar with how we do things, it's now in the PartnerNet document section. So you can download it there today, and I'll put it over in the webinar. There's also a lot of stuff right this second in the webinar area. I've written down a lot of my advice that I've gathered from clients like you over the many years, and my 101 tips and tricks for sublimation success. Another great resource that I'm sure you're familiar with is the CondéTV.com. And one of the ideas that we're thinking about, we do videos every week, is to do a generic, non-branded Condé, not a Condé video, but just non-branded on fundraising that you could actually show the organization that would cut the ice a little bit, maybe give you a good introduction. So we welcome your ideas about how we can serve you and grow your business and your success.
Wow, you guys have so much useful information there. It's just, and adding in all these videos, I mean, that's just fantastic. So we already have some questions coming in. For those of you who are new to a webinar, the way that you would ask questions is through a text type of situation. And to do that, if you look in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a red rectangle with a white arrow. If you click on that, it opens up your control panel, and then you can type in the message, which actually comes over to me. It doesn't pop up on the screen. And then I'll read it out, and David and I will answer that question for you as well. You see our email on the screen, so you can always follow up with either one of us, any questions that you have or anything that you're looking for more information about, whether it's what we talked about today or anything else to do with sublimation and digital decoration.
You got it. Let's take some questions.
Okay, so several of them already here. Okay, here's a question. Do you have images in high res that I can use to design my own flyers?
Yes. If you download the PartnerNet catalog from the support section of our website, that is a high-res PDF, and you can use all the images in it. So that catalog is designed for a couple of different purposes. One is to be taken to a printer, and you can customize it, remove stuff, add stuff, whatever you want to do. And all those images are high-res images designed for printing. Now, if you're going to put up a web page, if you're going to take a page from it and use it as an email flyer, you'll want to downsize that page to 72 dpi for web graphics. So it's high-res. I think all of them are at 300 dpi, and that's exactly what we did with the partner catalog. We took it to a printer, and we had many thousands printed. And those are available at a very nominal cost to you, for you to, essentially not do any work, to have a great catalog to show your prospects and your clients.
Okay. Another question along those lines, on the partner catalog, are the images in the partner catalog available separately from the catalog?
Well, no, they're not. They're in the catalog. You just pull them out. You open it up in, say, Corel, and you can just grab all the images you want from each page. They're that. But we don't have a depository of just JPEGs like that.
Right.
I am going to put together a zip file of a bunch of images that would be used in a photo frame. If you look at CondéTV.com and see one of my tips I published just the other day was everybody that has a retail establishment needs a photo frame on their counter, so that when you do a product for your client, I recommend you take a picture of it and then you put it in the photo frame. Well, I've got a set of really good sample images that I'm going to zip up and post on our website, and those you could start with. Those will be low resolution, fit for a photo frame, something like that. But the partner catalog has the high-res images, and it is very little work to open it, go to the page you want, and grab an image.
Okay, would you repeat where they can, how they obtain the partner catalog? I've had that come in a couple of times.
You go to Condé.com and you click on support and you log into PartnerNet. If you don't have a login, you can request a login, and then you'll proceed to the members area, and under documents, the partner catalog lives there, and it's a zip file, so that makes it fairly easy to download. And then after you download it, you extract the files out of there, and it'll be a PDF. And then you can open that PDF in a program that will, handle the pages correctly. A good choice, really, is a modern version of Corel, like Corel X3, X4, X5, preferably a newer version of Corel like X5. And if you don't have X5, and for whatever reason you don't want to go out and buy it, you can download a 30-day free trial version of Corel X5 from Corel.com. You could also use Acrobat Professional to open and edit it. If you open it in Acrobat Reader, you really can't do anything with the catalog. Now, some people get confused. We have a catalog that you can download, and then we have our partner catalog. The two are completely different. The partner catalog is the unbranded version.
Right. Okay. Do you have any kit packages for, say, a target market? So somebody wanted to put together a kit of ideas and sublimate it themselves to go show to people. Do you have anything in kit form?
As far as pre-done samples, we have one sample kit that you could order that's just a fairly large array of products. They would come to you sublimated and ready for you to show people. They're not precisely focused on fundraising. They're focused on personalization, attracting clients with digital images, things like that. Again, if you have a sublimation system, it's fairly straightforward for you to, produce some samples. We're always happy to help. Basically, we just need to hear from you to understand maybe what your needs are, so that it's clear to me how we can be of assistance.
Okay. Here's one that says, I struggle with pricing for wholesale customers. Do you have a suggested retail price, for example, mugs? And I don't know what you have on that. I mean, I know that when I work with different markets, I end up with different retail suggested prices based on that perception of value.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, Jimmy, and that's how it works. The first rule is people are always attracted to wanting to know, say, a rule of thumb or what other people are doing. And obviously there are products that people already have a very sense of what the product would sell for, what it's worth, things like that. In general, the three elements that go into what a product would sell for is first the selling environment. Obviously, if you're selling in a fundraising environment, people are probably expecting to pay a little bit more for a product than if they went to, candy bar or went to Walmart kind of stuff. Number two is the product itself, and what its sort of intrinsic value is. And then third, which is where you come into it, and that is what's on the product. And so if you're coming up with, say, a great design template, like, for instance, a really nice Father's Day, calendar template, something like that, that you drop a photograph into it, people are going to pay more for that because it's feels like a really nice personalized product. Typically with mugs, probably the upper end of the mug scale is probably $20, and then the lower end of the scale, if you're doing, say, mugs for a corporation and you're doing the same thing over and over again, maybe you go down to $6 or $8. So I wish I could tell you some exact rules, but it really has to do with those three variables as to what the product is worth. And so you can pick a particular product, and we can talk about that in great detail. Mugs are a pretty easy product, except now there's a bunch of different kinds of mugs. And for instance, I recommend everybody go hit the dance studios where certainly my money is gone for my daughter, and go in there and grab their logo and personalize it with the girl's name and put it on a water bottle. Water bottles in dance studios are really hot. And so, yeah, everybody's thinking about mugs, but, right now I can tell you water bottles are just, they're doing really well. And, it's something different. And it really fits, that environment, plus water bottles are great for a lot of sports. So, you got lots of opportunities that you can step out of the mundane that people are familiar with and really sell them, I think, high-value products that, everybody's got mugs now, and it's a great product to do, but there probably aren't a lot of people that have a good water bottle, something like that.
Now, someone's asking about sublimation being done on nylon, and of course, nylon melts at less than 400 degrees, which is our typical sublimation temperature. But she needs to do some parade sashes. Do you have any possibilities there?
I do have a lot of experience with nylon, Jimmy, and
okay.
and I've had good success with nylon.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, nylon the colors do not pop in nylon like they happen in polyester.
Right.
But I've had good success with nylon sublimating it, and so be it. Obviously, what you want to do is test it and make sure it's going to work okay.
Right.
But, over these many years, I've known people that sublimate to umbrellas.
Yep.
And which is generally nylon. So there's been enough out there to tell me that it's worth trying. Always when you're pressing something for the first time, always make sure you put uncoated white butcher paper on the top and bottom so that if it does melt, cleanup is going to be tricky.
Clean up on aisle 5, that's important. Now, David, when you're doing the nylon, are you running a lower temperature or maybe a lower press time? Are you doing anything different?
We've done a lot of nylon here at Condé in flags for ourselves and
okay.
other people, and I just really haven't had too many problems with melting. Generally, you can safely, if you want to just be cautious, you can go down to 375, 365, run your time up a little bit. But again, I know a lot of products that have a high nylon content, and they work well. The negative with nylon is that just the colors do not pop anything like polyester.
Okay.
But if that's what you've got to work with, so be it.
Now, I've seen a lot of things like flags now being available in a polyester format. Do you know if she's asking about parade sashes? Do you know if anybody's maybe making parade sashes or beauty pageant sashes out of poly?
Seamstress would have an easy time sewing a parade sash made of polyester fabric. I mean, it would be real straightforward. And you could sublimate it before you sew it, or you could sublimate it after you sew it, depending on exactly what parts of it you want to sew, what parts of it you want to sublimate. I think it's a great idea to do something like that. So yes, I don't sense anything that is of a concern. Polyester fabric is available. We sell it in bulk. And there's some good grades of it. It just, if you're looking for something maybe very shiny, that would first appear to me to be a good choice. But again, I'm a man, so maybe my feel is as good as yours. But I think it's a great idea. I would recommend you pursue it.
Okay. Can you suggest a website to use to create fundraisers online?
That's a great question, and I don't have any turnkey website to give you to do that. It's always nice when you go and call on a client to show them a website or something like that. But again, what you're selling is your personal touch, your local with them at least at first, and so you're getting in there. And I don't think having a website is terribly important to you being able to get them as a client for your fundraiser. Obviously, if you're branching out, if you have sort of a unique product, for instance, let's say you're going to focus on using the subless sandals as a fundraising product to sororities, something like that. Obviously you're going to be selling outside your locality. You do need a website, and probably the easiest websites that I've seen that now just a lot of people have experience with is bringing up a WordPress site. WordPress site has a lot of plugins, shopping carts, all sorts of things. So that may be a good thing to look at is look at WordPress.com or WordPress.org, and very inexpensive, bordering on free, other than the hosting charge, and lots of plugins there, and maybe try to find somebody that has a little experience in your area with it. But on the websites, I think we've reached a point in websites that, for instance, WordPress, pretty much anything you could ever imagine you'd want to do with a website, you probably can find a WordPress add-in that would do it. So that's probably the least complicated solution of bringing up something like this.
Yep. Okay, one last question here. Do you have a source of any type of generic order forms that can be used for this type of thing?
I knew probably that question would come up, and we did come up with some generic order forms, and I don't know if they're posted anywhere on the website when we did the flyers and brochures that you saw. People get hung up on the elements of success of fundraising, for instance, a flyer, sales flyer, an order form, but realistically, these are very simple things. Usually, if you ask the organization, do you have a flyer from your previous one? But basically, all you're doing is you're looking for something to record the order, and the columns to indicate what product they're ordering, and then a space for personalization if you're a Category 2 product. So I don't think it's brain surgery, but I will see if I can find my order forms that we did before for all those products and post them on that webinar page.
Okay, well, I think that concludes today's presentation. And again, if you have additional questions, feel free to email either one of us to ask those questions, and we'll get back to you with an answer. And I want to thank David and Condé for inviting me over to co-host today. I really appreciate being here, and I appreciate everybody that came out and asked the questions.
Well, thank you, Jimmy, and thank you for helping, and all the folks out there. Just let us know how we can serve you better. You can email me directly. You can talk to your account rep, and we can we'll be supportive of you. Give us your successes. One of the resources we have, Jimmy, that is really building a community is we have an image gallery where clients are now posting their success stories, the products they've taken pictures. So if you just go to our website, you'll see the link for the image gallery, and that is just an awesome wake-up call to see what other people are doing. And we every Friday we award the best $25 credit with Condé. Another resource is our blog. I know we've got a couple of postings on there for fundraisers with just other people's ideas. And then another resource I recommend for a great wake-up call is 150 ways to make money with sublimation, and obviously fundraising is part of that, with a little bit of information on elements of success, which we've covered quite a few here. So there's lots of resources to get you. And my final thing, really telling everybody, is if you want to grow your success, then you need to get out of your comfort zone. And I know a lot of people, they love to stay in their comfort zone and continue doing what they're doing. But with fundraising and all this other stuff, it's going to require you to get out of your comfort zone, do things maybe you haven't done in the past. But these are all real familiar things to us all, so it's not really something new. But you've got to get out there. You've got to do new things, make new contacts, and really show people what you want, show people what you can do. I can tell you that there's a great hunger out there in our internet, economy of I want it my way and I want it now, and the products you're offering just fit that to a T. Being able to take somebody's digital image and instantly put it on a product. I had to buy a car for my son, which is a sophomore at Auburn, and he's taking a co-op job, and I went into the dealership and I told him what I wanted and what I could spend. And the first thing I looked around is the salesperson I knew, didn't know him real well, but I knew him, and I looked at his sign that he had in his door, in his window, and it was the most wimpiest sign I've ever seen. It was a piece of white cardboard with black letters. And I came back the next day, and I took one of the new silver license plates. If you haven't seen those, they're really neat, Unisub silver license plates. And I put his name with a nice, colorful background and the Toyota. This was a Toyota place. Toyota logo that had a little silver shining. I put it in his window, and he instantly got a crowd from the other salespeople. Wow, they were oohing and eyeing. And when I went to pick up the car, which was yesterday, lo and behold, I got a free pinstriping job. Now, I didn't do it to get anything, any real bonus. I did it because, he deserved better than what he had. But the point is that if I was doing it, as a business, that would be a great calling card for him to let everybody know where he got this license plate. Now, of course, I thought it was a neat idea to have, he's selling cars, he needs a license plate in his window. And so, if we think about just our daily activities, where we go, who we talk with, where the wife goes, all these kind of stuff, you can take every one of these opportunities usually and work it into contacts to show people what you can do. And the folks have a great hunger for what you do.
Yep. Well, great advice as always, David. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's those kinds of things, if you do them every day, you know what? You're helping folks out, but at the same time, you end up generating business too. You can't go wrong with that.
And everybody's looking for value. So I want to thank everybody that sat in on this and put up with Jimmy and I. And we love doing this kind of stuff. We love imparting our knowledge. But remember, you folks are why we're here, and we're here to serve you and help you become more successful and more profitable. So, Jimmy, look forward to the next webinar, and thank you again, everybody, for attending.
Okay, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.